Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be covering another deck, very popular going into the World Championship of Pokemon next week, and we are talking about Zoroark with Magcargo. So it's a very control-lenient deck with a lot of different aspects that a person can take advantage to pretty much control the way that the game is being played to their advantage, of course. It plays very, very similar to a list Tord actually played at the Internationals of the United States. I probably said that wrong, the Internationals of the United States. That doesn't sound right, but at INC's. But it plays very, very similar to the list that he played there. But now that we have Celestial Storm, it actually includes Magcargo as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So it does play a 4-4 line of Zora into Zoroark. Zoroark GX ability has trade. Once during your turn, you may discard a card from your hand. If you do, draw 2 cards. Very, very popular. Pretty much as soon as it hit the format, everybody's been playing it, everything trying to make it work. And of course, it's succeeded so much. Righteous beating 20 times for double colorless. This attack does 20 damage for each of your Pokemon in play. So it does 120 off of having 6 Pokemon in play, and then 150 if you have a Choice Band, for example, in play. Trickster GX is not something we're going to cover because unfortunately we cannot use it. We cannot take advantage of using Trickster GX because we do not play Darkness Energies. And it is weakness. Its weakness is to Fighting type, which of course is Buzzwole. Buzzwole is also pretty much the opposite of Zoroark because it's running around everywhere. So Buzzwole is going to be a big weakness in this matchup. Resistance to Psychic. Now, Psychic Box is kind of a, it's kind of around with Malamar taking, people taking advantage of Malamar and its ability. So Zoroark does resist that for 20, and of course has a retreat cost of 2. So I think Zoroark Magcargo going in can control pretty much the way that the game plays out, which is pretty good. And I've tested it quite a bit actually. I played a tournament with it, to be honest, to see how well it plays, and if you're not too familiar with the way it plays out, it can be a tough matchup, but it is a great deck to play. But, I keep mentioning Magcargo, so we play a 2-2 line of Magcargo for the ability Smooth Over. Once during your turn, you may search your deck for a card, shuffle it, and then put that card on top of your deck. Pretty much, it goes hand in hand with Zoroark GX's trade ability because you can put basically exactly what you need on top of the deck and pretty much just trade into it. So imagine having one Zoroark, one Magcargo, well, or let's one up that. So maybe 2 Zoroarks and 2 Magcargos in play, and you basically have anything you need. You need a DCE, Magcargo's going to get it for you. You need Enhanced Hammer, Magcargo's going to get it for you. Parallel City, Magcargo's going to get it for you. So people are always wondering, I play a 1-1 line. Why do you play a 2-2 line? I think you want to see Magcargo as soon as possible. And if you can somehow take advantage of having 2 in play, then it's just all that much better. You're going to get exactly what you need. You're going to be, in control of the game. And control is the name of this deck. So it's something you want to take advantage of course, playing a 2-2 line of Magcargo. And then we're playing a few little different cards here and there. So we have Tapu Lele GX for the 1-attack ability. When you play this card from your hand onto your bench, during your turn you may search your deck for a supporter card, reveal it, put it into your hand, shuffle your deck. This is used to get our Bridgets, because this deck is very setup lenient. You need your Zoras in play, you need your Slugmas in play and stuff like that. So this is going to help us get to the Bridget that helps us get to our setup. Now it is an attacker though. Energy derived 20 times for a double colorless. This attack does 20 damage times the amount of energy attached to both active Pokemon. This damage isn't affected by weakness or resistance. Tapu Cure GX is not something we're going to cover because unfortunately we do not play any psychic energy in this deck, so we can't take advantage of that. No weakness, no resistance. And it has a retreat cost of just 1. So that's pretty cool there. Then we were playing 1 Mew EX for the versatile ability. This Pokemon can use the attacks of any Pokemon in play, both yours or your opponent's. You still need the necessary energy to use each attack. Why we need to have this in our deck is for the Buzzwole matchup that I just finished telling you guys. If we can get a Righteous Beating off of with a Mew EX, it's going to get the knockout 100% of the time on Buzzwole. So That's going to help us there as well. And then also, for the Psychic matchups, we want to make sure that we, Dawnwing's Necrozma is, of course, weak to Darkness, to Dark-type Pokemon, so Zoroark has that covered. But, of course, if you see a Necrozma or any other Psychic-type Pokemon out there, usually has a Psychic-type weakness. With Mew EX, we can take advantage of that. The downside to this, though, is if we're, like I mentioned, fighting against a Psychic box deck, we also playing with that weakness of Psychic-type. So it just really depends on the situation. Very situational, but you're almost always going to be using this to take care of Buzzwole for sure. And the last Pokemon we're playing is Oranguru, and we're not talking the Instruct one. We're talking the Resource Management one. For one colorless, you put 3 cards from your discard pile on the bottom of your deck in any order. This is pretty much, if you play a lot of 1-of, 2-ofs in this deck, but if you need one of those 2 cards back into the deck, for example, Oranguru is going to help you get those back into the deck. So, like, say for example, if you need a Reverse Valley to hit the right numbers with Zoroark GX, and you've already used your Reverse Valley, it's already in the discard pile, Resource Management is going to help you get it back into the deck. Now, this card is becoming a lot more popular because of Resource Management. It's a really great attack, and expect to see a lot of players using this, especially in Zoroark control variant decks where they, they play certain cards and they want to get them back into the deck once they've already been used and stuff like that. I guess you can talk about Profound Knowledge. For 3 colorless, it does 60 damage, and your opponent's active Pokemon is now confused. Honestly, it's not something you're going to want to use, not something you should be using, to be honest. Weakness is to Fighting type, unfortunately, and then the Retreat is a 2 cost. So, Resource Management, though, is a great attack. But that's it for our lineup for Pokemon there. Now we're going to talk about our supporters. We have a great cast of supporters to play here. And I guess we're going to start with Bridget. Let's start with Bridget. You search your deck for 1 basic EX or 3 basic Pokemon that are not EX and put them onto your bench. This is your setup card. This is ideally your first card, your first turn card played. You want to get your Zoras and your Slugmas on the bench and get set up. Then we play 1 copy of Acerola. Put one of your opponent Pokemon that has any damage counters on it, and all cards attached to it into your hand. So say, for example, your opponent's about to knock out a Zoroark GX. This is a perfect way to save that Zoroark GX from getting knocked out, bring it back to your hand, and saving that energy. 1 copy of Cynthia. It's your shuffle draw supporter. Shuffle your hand into your deck, then draw 6 cards. But we're only playing 1 copy of that. Then we're playing 1 copy of Delinquent. I love this card. I've always had love for this card. It is a great card. Discard any stadium card in play, usually Parallel City, because that's going to be a very popular card that people are going to be playing. If you do, your opponent discards 3 cards from his or her hand. Usually your opponent, kind of the way that they play, they want to try to get the knockouts as quick as possible, and they somehow always have their hand down low in hand size. And you can take advantage of them having pretty much crucial cards in those hands, and you can make them discard them with Delinquent, for example. Then we're playing 3 copies of Guzma. Switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active, and if you do, you do the same on your side of the board. 3 copies, and each player shuffles his or her hand into their deck, then draw cards based on the amount of remaining prize cards they have. 1 copy of Professor Sycamore, you discard your hand, draw 7 cards. Another card that I had, you don't really see it too often. Of course, now it's seeing a resurgence, and a lot of people are playing it a lot more now. Discard an energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon in the form of Team Flare Grunt. So, imagine doing this and something like, I don't know, Enhanced Hammer in the same turn. And you pretty much clear your opponent's board of, like, Special Energy. And then you're like, well, not a lot of people are playing Special Energy. Well, first off, if you're playing the Mirror Match against Zoroark, you're going to be playing against Special Energy, because they have their double colorless energy. You're playing against Buzzwole, they have Strong Energy and Beast Energy. You're playing Beast Box, you have Beast Energy. You're playing Psychic Box, probably Unit Energy or Rainbow Energy. The Special Energy is on the board, so you can take advantage of taking that off. But Team Flare Grunt pretty much discards any energy. So imagine playing something like Ultra Necrozma, and they have that 1 metal energy still attached to their active Necrozma. This helps get rid of that metal energy and kind of puts them in a little bit of a deficit, because they have to search for it, because it is a requirement for the attack of Ultra Necrozma. But that is our supporter lineup, and it's pretty, diverse lineup that you have a bunch of different options to use. But with that, we're going to get started with our item cards. So our item cards are just as diverse. So without further ado, we're going to get rid of the ones that make sense, the ones that are always going to be there. Ultra Ball. 4 Ultra Balls. Discard 2 cards from your hand. If you do, search your deck for a Pokemon, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Puzzle of Time, which is now actually banned and expanded. You may play 2 puzzles at once. If you play 1, you look at the top 3 cards in your deck and put them in any order. If you play 2, you put 2 cards from your discard pile into your deck. So, I guess Leaf or Field Blower, choose up to 2 in any combination of tools and stadiums and play and discard them. You play 3 copies of those. Now, those 3 cards there are pretty much, they're kind of always going to be there. Now we play a whole bunch of different other cards that are, depending on the matchup and depending on how controlling you want to be. Let's start off with Counter Catcher. You can play this card only if you have more prize cards remaining than your opponent. Switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active. Maybe they have something on the bench that is heavy retreat cost and you need a little bit of time to set up. Counter Catcher is going to force your opponent to put something on the board or on the active spot that they may not want. Plus, it's pretty much like a free Lysander. It's gonna be, maybe you need to take that knockout and you're still down in prize cards. You can take advantage of using Counter Catcher. So that's a great card here. Keep mentioning it a lot. Enhanced Hammer, discard a special energy attached to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Not just their active. Any Pokemon on their board that has a special energy attached, you can go ahead and discard it with Enhanced Hammer. Then we're playing 2 copies of Evil Soto. Search your deck for a Pokemon that evolves from one of your Pokemon. Put it onto that Pokemon. This counts as evolving. Shuffle your deck afterwards. You can't use this card during your first turn or on a turn that a Pokemon was put into play. So this is great because it helps you speed into your Zoroarks and speed into your Magcargos. Obviously, because those are things that can evolve in this deck. But it helps you get there as quick as possible. 1 copy of Max Potion. Heal all damage from one of your Pokemon if you do discard energy. We only play 1, but it's not too hard for us to get that energy back onto the board or back into our hand, back into the deck. We have all sorts of options in this deck. And then we're playing 1 copy of Rescue Stretcher. Put a Pokemon from your discard pile into your hand, or you shuffle 3 Pokemon from your discard pile into your deck. Then we're playing 1 copy of Floatstone. This Pokemon this card is attached to has no retreat cost. And then 2 copies of Weakness Policy. The Pokemon this card is attached to has no weakness. We mentioned a lot how Zoroark GX has that fighting weakness. Just imagine if we don't have that fighting weakness anymore. So there's some cases where Buzzwole GX is played with Garb and they choose not to play Field Blower. This is the perfect matchup, the perfect time to take advantage of Weakness Policy because they're not going to be getting rid of this anytime soon. Now the Baby Buzzwole matchup is a little bit different because it plays differently and might play the Field Blowers. And of course this is Worlds format, so things are a lot, they're very, very different. People might be playing different cards to counter and stuff like that. But Weakness Policy is still a great card for the specific matchups like that. And then that's it for our items, but we are playing 3 stadium cards, 2 Parallel City, 2 different sides. So one side pretty much reduces the damage of grass, fire, and water, and the other side reduces the size of a bench. We usually want to play, reduce the size of the bench on our opponent so that they're, they don't go off, and maybe it's a mirror match, and their Righteous Beating isn't going to be doing a lot. Then we play 1 copy of Reverse Valley. Choose which way, of course, this faces. One side boosts the attacks of Darkness Pokemon by 10. The other side is, I believe, reduces... it reduces the metal damage done to metal Pokemon. So if you expect to see Metagross at Worlds, I don't know if this might be the right card for you to use, just because you might not be able to get certain knockouts and stuff like that. But nonetheless, it's still a great card. Just think about it this way. Oranguru has 120. You're going to be hitting that with Zoroark and stuff like that. So specific matchups, that's where you're going to be using the Reverse Valley to knock stuff out. And of course, to finish the list off, we play 4 double colorless, and that is leading to the end of our video, guys. Now the thing is, with these deck lists, it's pretty much just a skeleton.
You guys can do whatever the hell you guys want. This is just to show you guys how the deck is looking right now for the Worlds format. And of course, things change, of course, once Worlds actually gets going. Or, you know, you guys want to change things for whatever you guys want to do. That's all on you guys. So what I expect you guys to do is, you know, make the list of your own and share them. I want to see them. I might cover them on the channel, you know. It's something I want to cover. But yeah, the end of this video, guys. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Follow me on Twitter for any updates and stuff like that. Follow me on Twitch for any streams and stuff like that. I'll see you guys next time for another video here on the channel. Peace!